Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
The 2018-19 World Endurance Championship was something extraordinary. 8 tough rounds spanning the globe, including the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans raced not once, but twice. It truly was a super season.
Radio check, David. Radio check, Alex.
The super season was always going to be different to what had gone before. In LMP1, there'd be new teams and new machinery.
For one side, we have a very, very efficient car with a hybrid system, and then for the other side, we have a very performant car with a lot of power, a lot of kind of muscle car, you know? It's going to be exciting.
The LMP2 battle was sure to be a thriller. While GTE had 5 manufacturers going head-to-head.
We're training a race series to win, actually. So this is definitely our aim. But when we can fulfill this aim, we don't know yet. My plan is to definitely be on the podium or win a race this season, yes.
The super season kicked off in Belgian sunshine at Spa in front of a huge crowd, and the fans finally got to meet the WEC's latest big-name signing, double Formula One world champion Fernando Alonso. The super season got underway with the number 8 Toyota leading the pack into Spa's famously tight first turn, the hairpin at La Source. The first big shock came just after the pit stops. Harry Tincknell had just rejoined the track and was following his teammate through Eau Rouge when the left suspension failed, pitching him into the barriers at speed. While the ensuing safety car was out, Racing Team Netherlands driver Guido van der Garde pitted with mechanical issues, costing the LMP2 car the lead in the class. The restart was Fernando Alonso's first big test in the WEC. The sister Toyota with Kamui Kobayashi at the wheel was right behind, trying to unlap itself after having had to start from the pit lane. And there was heavy traffic all the way in front of them. But Fernando had it all under control before experiencing yet another difference between WEC and Formula One, having to hand the car over to another driver mid-race. The number 7 Toyota had been on a charge following its delayed start. By mid-race, it had caught the Rebellions and passed them for second place. But the Rebellion squad was determined to keep up.
Okay, I'm going over. There is too much time. Copy, deal, copy. You are allowed to overtake. It needs to be clean. No contact.
Rebellion felt that Neil Jani had better pace than teammate Matthias Besch and would hopefully be able to take the fight back to Toyota. Late drama and a safety car after Matevos Isakian in the SMP had a huge crash at the top of Raidillon. The car was destroyed, but thankfully the Russian driver walked away unharmed. As the race resumed, the battle for the lead in GTE Pro had closed right up. Richard Lietz in the Porsche under huge pressure from the Ford of Olivier Pla. They ran side by side into the fearsome Eau Rouge, no place for the faint-hearted. The Ford driver held his line and his nerve, grabbing the lead. It was neck and neck in GTE AM as well, an all-Aston Martin battle for supremacy. Pedro Lamy under real pressure from Ewan Hankey, but the veteran Portuguese wasn't going to let the lead slip away this close to the checkered flag.
Fernando, well done, not too bad like for starter. Fantastic, really good job, thank you very much.
As the flag fell, it was victory for Toyota number 8 and a debut win for Fernando Alonso.
I was telling the guys before, a long time that I was not in the podium, so I will be here all night long, until tomorrow morning.
After a tough battle, the 66 Ford claimed GTE Pro honours. Visitors G-Drive controlled the LMP2 race, while in GTE AM, the 98 Aston hung on for the win. Next, uniquely, was the first of 2 trips to Le Mans during one season. The atmosphere, again, quite incredible.
In terms of on a race weekend, it's pretty insane. So yeah, awesome, fantastic.
Among the famous faces on the race morning grid was tennis legend Rafael Nadal.
It's just fantastic, very happy to be here, experiencing something very spectacular and having fun. The energy is difficult to describe.
We have started the 86th edition of the 24 Hour.
Rebellion's Andre Lotter tried to split the Toyotas, ran wide, damaged the front of the car and couldn't stop at the chicane, clattering Dragon Speed's LMP1 entry. Lotter was forced to crawl back to the pits for urgent repairs. The race for third was tight, but it seemed the SMP entry of Stefan Sarrazin had a little more pace to go by Thomas Laurent's Rebellion. The Toyotas battled out front. Just after the 3-hour mark, Fernando Alonso made a move and took the lead for the first time at Le Mans. Porsche celebrated its 70th birthday with retro liveried 911s in the GTE Pro class, and they were battling wheel to wheel out front. Lawrence Vantour just sneaked in front ahead of Fred Makovici. Pitting a lap earlier than his rivals then proved to be the first stroke of luck for the Pink Pig. As his second and third place rivals pitted on the next lap, the safety car was scrambled. That meant they would be held at the pit exit, handing the pink Porsche a big advantage. The restart was frantic, all 4 classes involved as the quick cars struggled to find a way through traffic. Jose Maria Lopez had managed to get the number 7 Toyota ahead of Fernando Alonso in number 8. They were both having to take risks cutting through the traffic. As the race headed into the night, Sebastian Buemi was now in number 8, but in trouble with the officials.
I did a mistake and all the slow zone was off. I'm slowing down more to compensate.
Buemi's conciliatory gesture didn't work. He was forced to serve a 60-second stop penalty for speeding through the slow zone, dropping them further behind the number 7 car.
So if we can get right with it there, we may be able to get... Okay, stop this lap. When you can, India 1, when you can. Then it should be green forward.
Overnight, the number 8 crew had been pushing hard to undo the damage of their penalty, working their way back up onto the tail of the number 7 Toyota before taking the lead again. Battle raged for second in GTE Pro. In the Ford, Sebastian Bourdais swept by Fred Macavicchi's Porsche. Bourdais' dad delighted. But Mako wasn't just going to roll over. He fought back immediately, squeezing the Porsche back into second. After more than 20 years of trying and heartbreak, finally Toyota would claim the Le Mans victory they had cherished for so long. Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima and Fernando Alonso had finally broken the spell. At last, Toyota could celebrate victory at Le Mans.
We finally managed to make it as a great story, and it was all from team's effort and all the hard work from the team. Finally made us to win this race, and thanks to my teammate, including car 7 guys. I think we were both deserved to win.
In GTE Pro, the Pink Pig never surrendered its early advantage. Porsche came out on top.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It was the longest day of my career and the best one. So really proud to be part of this big family, which called Porsche, and we proved today that we are the greatest.
Porsche also triumphed in the GTE AM class. Dempsey Proton's number 77 machine claiming victory. And after G-Drive were disqualified post-race, LMP2 honours went to Senior Tech Alpine. Next up, Silverstone. Toyota had locked out the front row and led the pack into Abbey Corner. But there was chaos behind, with cars heading in all directions, trying to avoid spinning prototypes. The two rebellions were fortunate to avoid wiping each other out on the very first corner of the race. Again, the fight in GTE Pro was close, but the Le Mans winners couldn't hold off Andy Priaulx with huge early pace in the Ford GT. Jackie Chan DC Racing were 1-2 in LMP2 until Jazeman Jafar picked up a puncture in the number 37 machine. That allowed their teammates to take the lead as Jafar headed round at a crawl to the pits. It looked like the front-running Ferrari of Davide Rigon had also picked up a puncture, the flailing remains of the tyre destroying the back of the car. But replays showed SMP's Igor Orodchev had sideswiped the Ferrari, damaging the wheel. The Toyotas still scrapped for the lead of the race, but it looked as though the number 7 car had a little more speed. It would take a while, but finally Jose Maria Lopez found the gap to move ahead of Kazuki Nakajima. Despite near disaster on the first turn, the Rebellions were having a strong race. Car number 1 looking good in 3rd place. Meanwhile, in car number 3, Thomas Laurent was all over Stefan Sarrazin in the 17 SMP, passing him to grab 4th and still pushing on hard. Suddenly, the leader was in trouble. The number 7 Toyota ran off the road at speed.
Is there something happened? Because it looks very close and straight. It could be that the floor damage that we have is degrading can win.
And the closely following number 8 car, Sebastian Buemi, spotted the opportunity and grabbed the lead. The fight between the 67 Ford and 92 Porsche had raged all race, though now they were fighting over 3rd into the closing stages. Harry Tincknell launched a late attack around the outside at Stowe. Contact, he ran wide, but kept the Ford's nose in front. It was not all over though. Michael Christensen was determined not to give up a podium spot. Alessandro Pierguidi in the Ferrari had everything firmly under control in GTE Pro as the race headed to its conclusion. And it looked as if Toyota was heading to another dominant win as the checkered flag flew. Or so they thought, but the celebrations were to be premature. Post-race, both cars failed scrutineering and the Rebellions were promoted to 1st and 2nd. In GTE Pro, victory went to the 51 Ferrari, the first win of the season for world champions Alessandro Pierguidi and James Collado.
Still a bit of work to do to try and keep up with the Porsches and the Fords for the future. However, over the moon, so happy for Ferrari. Alessandro did an amazing job.
The LMP2 win went to the number 38 Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica. And in GTE AM, it was another great result for the 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche. Next, the series headed east to Japan. It would undoubtedly be tough in the wet at Fuji, but at least leader Kazuki Nakajima had a clear view at the front of the pack. Unlike the number 7 Toyota, they had to start at the back of the LMP1 field after being caught speeding in the pit lane during qualifying. But Kamui Kobayashi quickly set about moving up the order. On the slippery track, it looked like the S&P BR1s were handling better than their Rebellion rivals, and Jenson Button was soon carving up the field. The safety car was soon in action. Motoaki Ishikawa's Ferrari had a tyre let go at speed, shedding debris across the track and pitching the Japanese veteran into the barriers. Behind the safety car, Gustavo Menezes lost control in the slippery conditions, wrecking the number 3 Rebellion. When the track finally did start to dry, there was a rush to switch to slicks as quickly as possible to try and gain an advantage. As we'd seen at Silverstone, the lead in LMP2 was a battle between the Jackie Chan DC Racing machines, number 37 easing slowly away. But it was close for 3rd. Nico Lapierre in the Cinetic Alpine spotting just enough of a gap into turn 1 to dive by and grab the spot from TDS Racing's Mathieu Vazivière. Again, just like Silverstone, Davide Rigon was having problems with faster traffic. This time it was Pastor Maldonado's LMP2 car that hit him, forcing the Ferrari to pit with broken suspension. In the mixed conditions, BMW had led in GTE Pro, but as the 82 car and Tom Blomqvist blasted out of the pits, Kevin Estra's Porsche charged by to grab the lead, while the BMW's window of opportunity slammed shut. As it came to the final stops, Toyota just wanted to make sure that they won at home. Kazuki Nakajima would stay in for the final stint in car number 8. And when number 7 pitted, Kamui Kobayashi was in. It would be a fight between the Japanese drivers to take the checker. After a troubled start to the season at SMP, it was all finally going well for Jenson Button. He made a late stop for fresh tyres, heading towards a strong finish. In GTE AM, the Project 1 Porsche was proving the class of the field, but there was a tight battle behind. Matteo Cairoli had fresher tyres on his Porsche than Johnny Adam. The Dempsey Proton 88 car soon moved up into second place. As the checkered flag flew, Toyota number 7 headed a 1-2 at the Japanese team's home race. The race also marked a milestone for the number 7 crew, a first win for Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi and Jose Maria Lopez.
It's very important for us, it's a very important race, and yeah, somehow we've always been very close and never achieved the victory, and yeah, the feeling is great to win my first race in WBAC with Mike, Kamui and Toyota is great. The feeling is fantastic.
The Porsche of Kevin Estre and Michael Christensen took the GTE Pro win. Victory in LMP2 went to Jackie Chan DC Racing's number 37 machine, another first, the first FIA World Championship victory for an all-Malaysian driver lineup. While Project 1 claimed their first win in GTE AM. Competition headed into China to a very wet Shanghai International Circuit.
I think we're under 1 minute. Just the usual radio check around the track and just update us on the track.
And we have started the 6 hours of Shanghai behind the safety car.
The race got underway with everyone hoping for a break in the weather.
This is the most dangerous run.
Proving just how wet the track was, the Rebellion of Thomas Laurent aquaplaned and spun into the barriers. The organisers had no choice but to bring out the red flag and hope for a change for the better.
Race will be resumed behind the safety car.
The cars rolled off, and after another false start, the action would finally get underway. Bizarrely, because the prototypes had stopped for fuel at almost 3 hours in, the leaders were the GTE Pro cars. But it didn't take long for the faster prototypes to start cutting through. First, Bruno Senna carved his way through the speeding Pro class, and closing in fast was Fernando Alonso in Toyota number 8. As Senna attacked Kevin Estre's Porsche for the lead, Alonso, deploying the hybrid on the front wheel, had four-wheel drive advantage in the slippery conditions, and he used it to the maximum. Senna now started losing ground in the rebellion. Jenson Button quickly going by in the SMP to take second. Rapidly approaching was Kamui Kobayashi in the other Toyota. Jenson knew he couldn't hold back the four-wheel drive car, but he was certainly going to make the Japanese driver work hard for second spot. BMW was again strong in the wet conditions, but Richard Lietz's Porsche had fresher tyres than Tom Blomqvist's BMW. He was eager to grab third place. He had the advantage under traction, but at the end of the long back straight, the BMW's top speed told. No matter what Richard Lietz tried, Tom Blomqvist still kept coming back at him. The Porsche had a definite traction advantage in the corners, the BMW top-end speed on the monster back straight. But eventually Blomqvist ran a little wide in the final corner, allowing Lietz just enough of a gap to pull away. All of a sudden, it seemed to be going wrong for LMP2 leader Gabriel Aubry. TV replays revealed that it was a brush with a faster Rebellion that had knocked him into a spin. Back in GTE Pro, Richard Lietz had caught the Aston Martin of Maxime Martin. He wasted no time at all, cutting inside the Belgian at the first turn to grab second spot. As the conditions changed, the race leader pitted once more, but the tyres weren't ready for Kamui Kobayashi, causing a delay and allowing Mike Conway in the number 7 machine to go through and steal the advantage. There was another twist when Matavos Isakian crashed his SMP heavily. His race was over, the safety car was scrambled, and everybody was bunched up for a final shootout. By this stage, the weather was deteriorating rapidly. Though Marco Sorensen in the pro-leading Aston Martin didn't seem to mind, he even managed to overtake the LMP2 leader in what should have been a much quicker car. The other Aston was struggling to hold off the hard-charging 92 Porsche and in danger of losing a podium spot on the last lap in the gathering murk. On the flip side, Michael Christensen was determined to take that spot. Maxime Martin desperately tried to fight back, but the Porsche had just the extra traction it needed in the truly dreadful conditions. It was to be another Toyota 1-2, number 7, again leading home their teammates and rivals in the number 8 machine. Most crews, though, were just happy to get to the end of a race in vile conditions. In GTE Pro, an impressive drive by the Dane train gave Aston Martin their first win with the new Vantage.
It's been a big fight. It took a little while, but now we're here and I'm just super proud for the whole team. They just kept on working and kept the heads high, even though it's been a really hard season for us.
And to be the best performance I've ever seen on these colours, right? That's fantastic. Great job.
A first home win for Jackie Chan DC Racing. And GTE AM victory for the 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche. Round 7, it was a return to the USA and some good weather.
This is the Woodstock of automobile racing.
Sebastian Buemi in Toyota number 8 led the charge into the bumpy turn 1 at Sebring, leaving everybody else to fight it out behind. Despite a notable lack of rain, BMW was again looking strong, challenging the front runners in GTE Pro. Augusto Farfus finding a way round Harry Tincknell up into second place. And it wasn't long before the big M8 had reeled in the leading Porsche of Kevin Estre. This time, Farfus used the power advantage of the BMW to outdrag the Porsche down the pit straight and go through to take the lead. Sharp pit work by the Chip Ganassi racing crew kept Ford's GTs firmly in the hunt for victory.
Full course yellow, full course yellow.
Sebring's notorious bumps demand respect. The slightest mistake can prove costly, as Egor Orodchev found out the hard way, bouncing his SMP wide and into the turn 1 wall. As racing resumed, the battle between the BMW and Porsche was just as frantic. Jimmy Bruni in the 91 attacking Antonio Felix da Costa in 82 to grab third place. As darkness descended, Jose Maria Lopez made a mistake, lapping Johnny Adam in the TF Sport Aston. Light contact was enough to damage the Toyota's body and force him into the pits for a new engine cover and rear wing. In a battle of equals, it's mistakes like this that can often cost you a race. The number 1 Rebellion had a torrid race. This was Matthias Besch's second spin. This time he'd found the wall and was lucky not to take out Francesco Castellacci as he lost control.
Car 1 is going to be pushed down the pit lane towards its stand.
As darkness fell, Ford's front-running pace was flagging. BMW's Martin Tomczyk grabbed the lead in the 81 car, though he was running slightly out of sync with most of the GTE Pro Field's pit stops. It was getting close for third place in LMP1 as well, but the bumps caught out Vitaly Petrov and he spun at turn 1. Fortunately though, he didn't hit anything solid. The number 3 Rebellion that he'd been racing was having its own issues and was delayed in the pit lane. And that would allow SMP to finally take third place with just over an hour of the 8 remaining. But the race was just about to change.
Wet track. The track has just been declared a wet track.
With less than half an hour to go, it started raining. Hard. In Florida, they say if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. That's how often it changes. Teams were faced with a gamble. Should they switch to intermediates or play safe and go to full wets? Slicks were not an option. The LMP2 leaders went for intermediates, hoping the rain wouldn't get any harder, but it did. The GTE Pro leaders were now in. The 81 BMW was also on a different strategy, so as well as wets, they needed a splash and dash fuel stop. The 91 Porsche only needed to switch tyres, and that was enough for Jimmy Bruni to take the class lead, exiting the pit lane. Both Toyota teams had initially plumped for intermediates, but as the rain continued to increase, and with a decent lead over the rest of the pack, they were pitted again and changed onto wets. The track was getting very slippery. Loic Duval ended up going straight on into the barriers, forcing the safety car out with only a few minutes remaining, effectively finishing the race.
Safety car will put out his lights at turn 10 as foreseen. cars will not overtake and take the checkered flag.
After a challenging 8 hours around the bumpy Sebring circuit, it was victory for Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima and Fernando Alonso. Their first since Le Mans in June.
Yeah, on the start-finish straight, I couldn't even go flat out because the car was doing like this. So it was really tricky even just to bring the car home. So I'm really happy to come back here with no damage on the car. And yeah, the win is like a bonus for us.
In GTE Pro, a first win for Richard Leitz and Gianmaria Bruni kept them firmly in the title hunt.
Richard took the start and it was just getting closer. And after the last 3 hours we were P2, get closer to BMW and was very good. I'm very happy. I think it's a great team effort.
The number 37 Jackie Chan DC racing car claimed the win in LMP2 with 3 new drivers. While in GTE AM, the 77 Dempsey Proton crew claimed win number 4 of the season. The World Endurance Championship returned to Spa in May in barely credible conditions.
Well, I'm trying to get warm as possible. It's like Christmas night. It's not May.
I think it will be the coldest race I've ever done. I heard not more than 4 degrees during the day. Luckily, I still have my winter stuff in the car.
Thankfully, the sun had appeared and the snow had disappeared just in time for the start of the race. As ever, it was the charge down to the tight La Source hairpin that proved some of the biggest jeopardy in the race. Amazingly, everybody made it through. In GTE Pro, it was every man for himself, the drivers tripping over each other, desperately trying to gain an early advantage on the cold track. Then, after just 3 laps, bad weather returned. The cold and now very wet track was also very slippery. Stefan Sarazan ran wide at the hairpin, allowing Thomas Laurent to go by in the Rebellion. Toyota reacted swiftly to the snow and the sleet pitting both cars. All went well for Mike Conway in the leading number 7 machine, but the tyres weren't ready to go on the number 8 of Sebastian Buemi, costing him valuable time. Lightning fast reactions from the Aston Martin crew had seen them pit ahead of everybody else, promoting them to the lead of GTE Pro. But Nicky Team was soon under pressure from the BMW of Antonio Felix da Costa, who squeezed through in the grim conditions out of Pouhon. Right behind them was Kevin Estre. The Porsche seemed to be coping even better as the conditions deteriorated, Estre attacking the Aston for second. But the rain became sleet, and the sleet soon became snow.
Safety car deployed, pit entry closed, leader slow down, leader slow down.
Unbelievable weather conditions left the race director with no option but to deploy the safety car and again to try and sit out the storm. It wasn't long before action was back underway around the Belgian Ardennes. After Toyota's earlier mistake with tyres, Sebastian Buemi was working hard to regain lost time, passing Thomas Laurent's Rebellion to move back up to second. It was all getting a bit physical for the lead in GTE Pro as Antonio Felix da Costa and Kevin Estre went wheel to wheel. The Porsche's supremacy in the mixed conditions just shadowing the BMW for pace, but not perhaps for courage. Estre, though, had merely suckered in da Costa and charged by up the straight. A mistake by Jordan King knocked the Bicoles car of Tom Dillman into the wall, earning the Sebring LMP2 winner a penalty. With the safety car out, Toyota still needed to pit Sebastian Buemi for fuel. It was not ideal. The championship leading number 8 car had to wait at the pit exit, again delaying them as the field drove past. Their teammates pitted a lap later, just as the safety car was coming in. They were not significantly delayed. Advantage to number 7. For a short while, local hero and former McLaren F1 driver Stoffel van Dorn led the race on his debut at SMP. But it wasn't long before Mike Conway was back in front in the number 7 Toyota and charging on a drying track. A three-way fight had broken out for the lead in GTE AM. Matthias Lauda just ahead in the Aston Martin. Thomas Preining determined to get by Matteo Cressoni, eventually spotting a gap into the hairpin to grab second place in the Gulf Porsche. Unexpectedly, the leader Kamui Kobayashi pitted the number 7 Toyota out of sequence. To start with, it looked like it might have been a change of strategy, although it allowed Fernando Alonso to go by to take the lead. It then became clear there was more of an issue. The team pushed the car back into the garage.
Fernando, for info, car 7 is in the box now. They have a problem.
A fault was finally traced in the hybrid system, but it was a huge setback to the number 7 crew and their title hopes. With one Toyota out, the team took no chances as the weather predictably changed again, this time pitting for a full set of wets. And as hail and snow fell, it wasn't long before everyone else followed suit. As in every other class, the weather was playing havoc with the strategy for the GT AM teams. Charlie Eastwood was ahead in the blue TF Sport Aston, Riccardo Pera not far behind, being chased by Giancarlo Fisichella until the Italian found himself facing the wrong way, exiting the bus stop chicane. Was it enthusiasm? No, it wasn't. It was Richard Leitz in the 91 Porsche. And that would cost the Porsche driver a penalty. It was close at the front in LMP2 as well. Nico Lapierre had been going well for Signatec Alpine, but Pastor Maldonado in the Dragon Speed 31 car was absolutely flying. He managed to reel in Lapierre and drive around the outside of him to take the lead from the Frenchman. It was mighty impressive stuff from the Venezuelan in pretty wretched conditions. Into the final minutes, and the lead battle in GTE Pro was closing fast. James Collado in the Ferrari, catching Maxime Martin's Aston Martin. But the weather conditions were deteriorating quickly once more, and the light was starting to go. This was just getting too dangerous. The race director had seen enough.
Red flag.
The race win went to Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima and Fernando Alonso. And Toyota claimed the World Championship. In GTE Pro, a mixture of excitement and relief as Belgium's Maxime Martin brought the Aston across the line for victory in the snow.
It was a really hard race, as we can have in Spa. A lot of gamble, a lot of strategy, but at the end, we had a really strong car in dry and wet, and yeah, we could make the difference at the end, and yeah, it's just awesome.
It was a huge day for Dragon Speed. Roberto Gonzalez, Pastor Maldonado and Anthony Davidson claiming victory in LMP2. With the GTE AM victory going again to the 77 Porsche of Dempsey Proton. And Porsche also claims the GT manufacturer's title. And so uniquely, for the second time in one season, to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The atmosphere was electric for the super finale, the conclusion of the longest ever season in the World Endurance Championship. As Her Serene Highness Princess Charlene of Monaco waved the flag to start the race, everyone knew there was added pressure, with championships still up for grabs. For the crew of Toyota number 7, they knew it was win or bust if they wanted the driver's crown. Mike Conway immediately started by pulling away from their rivals in Toyota number 8. In GTE Pro, Nicky Thiem had started on pole but was soon struggling with the blistering pace. First the Corvette, then the championship-leading 92 Porsche of Kevin Estre, dragged by the Aston Martin. There was drama too in GTE Am when Satoshi Hoshino spun the 88 Dempsey Proton Porsche, bringing out a full course yellow. He'd been running side by side with the GTE Am champions-elect and very nearly collected the Project One Porsche. Fernando Alonso couldn't keep the pace at the front set by Mike Conway, so the team made some setup changes.
Okay, can we have to change the front end? You might have less front with this one, so it's more safe for us.
The GTE Pro Ferraris had qualified poorly, but they seemed to get better the longer they ran. With 3.5 hours gone, Daniel Serra pulled ahead of the Corvette of Mike Rockenfeller. He was in the lead of the class. LMP2 was stupendous. G-Drive and Alpine in a high-speed knockdown drag-out battle where neither could gain the upper hand. But at Le Mans, as Toyota knows all too well, misfortune can be just around the next corner. So it proved for the 92 Porsche. The GTE Pro Drivers' Championship now hung in the balance as the team urgently set to trying to fix the car.
We changed the exhaust and brakes. Stay off the brakes, staying in the car.
This was not a quick fix. Suddenly the focus had changed from winning and beating Ferrari to just finishing and scoring enough points for the title. With under 6 hours to go, G-Drive had to push their LMP2 car into the garage for a fix. That dropped them out of the lead battle and left Senior Tech Alpine a lap ahead of their closest rivals. Now all they had to do was play safe, get the car home, and pray that Le Mans would choose them to win. Heading into the final hour and drama for the leaders, the number 7 Toyota pitting with a puncture warning.
Right, make the puncture still. It should disappear when the reading is coming from the sensor. Are you sure? Because it don't disappear and I have a lot of... Okay, okay. Come back slowly.
The frustration was clear. Jose Maria Lopez's steering wheel still said he had a puncture. Then, after leading for 23 hours, the number 7 Toyota was passed by Kazuki Nakajima. The number 8 moved into the lead. Lopez was heading back to the pits again. Toyota's torrid tales at Le Mans continued. This time the team took no chances, changing all 4 tyres before sending Lopez once more on his way, though any chance of a win and a driver's title looked to have slipped away. On the final lap, Sebastian Buemi's jangling nerves were soon to be calmed as Kazuki Nakajima headed to the checkered flag to claim victory for a second time in one season at Le Mans for the number 8 Toyota crew, and the driver's title for himself, Sebastian Buemi and Fernando Alonso.
Good job Kazuki, good job everyone, and to be deserved by car 7.
roller coaster of emotions, you know, this race, up and down all the way through, but no words to say, you know, winning now in the last moment, very lucky day for us, you know, with all the situations, so we take it, we enjoy it.
In LMP2, Senior Tech Alpine also claimed a second Super Season Le Mans win, and with it, the championship title.
At the beginning, we were fighting with G-Drive, which was not fighting with us on the championship, but we wanted this win, you know, so we were pushing for it, even though our competitor for the championship, they were a bit behind, but we wanted both today, so we just went for it.
In GTE Pro, the outgoing champions Ferrari surrendered their titles, but won Le Mans.
World champions.
After their mid-race scare, Michael Christensen and Kevin Estre took the driver's title to add to Porsche's manufacturer's crown.
Amazing, it's just such a long time, so much hard work. We did a very good job here. I think we put on a good show and we finally pulled it home. A dream come true.
The 2019 Le Mans win and the title went to Project One after what has been a fantastic GTE AM season. Over more than 17,200 kilometres, 86 hours of fierce wheel-to-wheel racing, Super Season has finally come to a conclusion. But Season 8 is only just around the corner.